Everyone knew Stephen Cole loved Robin Harper since high school, long before he ever met me, long before he proposed to me, and long before our families started calling me his future wife. I knew about Robin. Everyone did. She was the girl he used to wait for after class, the girl he followed to debate competitions, the girl whose name still made his friends glance at him before they answered too quickly. She's ancient history, Stephen told me once. I believed him. That was my first mistake. Robin came home 3 months before our wedding. Stephen told me while standing in our bedroom, adjusting his cufflinks in the mirror. Robin landed this morning. I paused with one earring halfway in. Oh. She called me. I looked at him through the mirror. That's nice. She needs help settling in. I put the earring down. We have the photographer meeting tonight. You can handle that. I stared at him. We both need to be there. Why? Because it's our wedding. He finished with his cufflink and reached for his watch. It's just photos. The photographer wants to talk through the schedule. So talk through it. I let out a slow breath. Stephen, we booked this meeting 6 weeks ago. And Robin booked her flight months ago. That has nothing to do with us. His expression cooled. Don't start. I blinked. Don't start what? Acting like I need your permission to see an old friend. I looked at him for a moment, trying to understand how we had gotten there so quickly. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He picked up his keys from the dresser. I'll be late. You're not coming at all. I said I'll be late. You're going to pick her up, help her with luggage, take her wherever she's staying, and still make it to a meeting across town by 7. He looked annoyed. Cancel it if you're going to be difficult. My hand tightened around the earring. Difficult. You heard me. Then he left. I went to the photographer meeting alone. Stephen did not come late. He did not come at all. At 9:47, he sent one message. Robin wanted dinner. Handle the photographer and send me the options. I stared at my phone for a long time. Then I sent him the options. That was my second mistake. After that, Stephen stopped pretending my plans mattered. He missed the menu tasting because Robin wanted to try the restaurant she used to love in high school. He skipped dance lessons because Robin needed help buying furniture. He canceled dinner with my grandfather because Robin had a headache and didn't like being alone in hotel rooms. Whenever I objected, he treated it like a personal flaw. You're jealous. You're being dramatic. You know Robin is important to me. The last one was his favorite because he said it like I was stupid for needing the reminder. I knew Robin was important to him. What I didn't know was that I had stopped being important at all. The first public disaster happened at our final wedding planning lunch. Both families were there. My grandfather sat beside me, quiet as always, but I could tell he was watching everything. Stephen's parents looked tired before Stephen even arrived. That should have warned me. The wedding planner had already set binders across the table when the door opened. Stephen walked in with Robin at his side. She wore a white dress to another woman's wedding meeting. It was not an accident. The dress was fitted, expensive, and simple enough that anyone could pretend it was harmless if they wanted to lie. Robin smiled at the room. I hope I'm not intruding. Stephen pulled out the chair beside him. Sit. My grandfather's gaze moved from Robin's dress to Stephen's hand on the back of her chair. Stephen's mother said, "This is a family meeting." Stephen sat down. Robin is practically family. I looked at him. No, she is. He turned to me slowly. She's important to me. She still isn't family. His jaw tightened. We're not doing this today. I almost laughed. We weren't doing this today. As though I had brought another woman to our wedding meeting. As though I had dressed her in white and seated her beside me. As though this was something I had caused. The planner cleared her throat. Should we continue? Stephen leaned back. Yes. The planner opened the first binder. Nora confirmed the garden roses for the ceremony and reception. Robin tilted her head. Garden roses are pretty, but peonies would photograph better. Stephen looked at the planner. Change them to peonies. The planner froze. I'm sorry. Peonies. I set my hand flat on the table. No. Stephen did not even look at me. She said peonies. I heard her. Then change them. The planner's eyes darted to me. I said, the flowers stay as they are. Stephen finally looked at me. Don't embarrass me. The table went quiet. My grandfather's expression hardened. Stephen's father said, son. Stephen ignored him. He kept his eyes on me. You've been picking at everything since Robin came back. I'm tired of it. I felt my face heat. I chose those flowers months ago. And now I'm choosing these. It's our wedding. Exactly our wedding, which means I get a say. You didn't give an opinion when I asked. I'm giving one now. Because Robin gave one first. Robin smiled a little and looked down at her water glass. She knew exactly what she had done. Stephen's mother said, Robin, perhaps you should wait outside. Stephen's voice sharpened. She stays. His mother went still. He looked around the table, irritated now. Everyone needs to stop acting like she did something wrong. She made a suggestion. At my wedding meeting, I said. At our wedding meeting, he corrected. Then he turned to the planner. Peonies. The planner did not write it down. My grandfather spoke for the first time. If you change one detail without Nora's approval, you will not be paid. The planner nodded quickly. Of course. Stephen stared at my grandfather. You're threatening my planner now. Grandfather picked up his tea. I'm paying your planner. That shut him up for about 10 seconds. Robin broke the silence. I really don't want to cause problems. Her voice was soft, but her hand moved under the table. Stephen's hand moved too. I saw his fingers close over hers. So did everyone else. Stephen did not let go. I looked at their hands. He followed my gaze. Instead of releasing her, he squeezed her hand once before placing his own back on the table. She's nervous, he said. I stared at him. Comforting her is a problem now too. I pushed my chair back. Nora, Stephen said. I stood. I need air. He scoffed. Of course you do. My grandfather stood with me. Stephen looked more annoyed by that than by anything else. Sit down, we're not finished. I picked up my bag. I am. He leaned back in his chair. You'll come back when you're done making a point. The worst part was how calm he sounded. He wasn't worried. He wasn't ashamed. He truly believed I would return because that was what I always did. I walked out of the room with my grandfather beside me. In the hallway, he asked, do you want to leave? I shook my head. No. I didn't want to run away. Not yet. I just needed a minute. He looked at me for a long moment. You know this is not normal. I know. Do you? My throat tightened. I did. I just hated that everyone else could see it too. When we returned, lunch had been served. My seat was taken. Robin sat beside Stephen, laughing quietly at something on his phone. My plate had been moved to the far end of the table. I stopped behind my chair. Stephen looked up. What? That's my seat. He glanced at Robin. She wanted to see the planner's sketches. So you moved my plate. You were gone. For 5 minutes. You left the meeting. He said it like I had forfeited my place. Stephen's mother looked horrified. Nora, sit here. She started to rise. I shook my head. It's fine. Stephen smiled faintly. There, see, it's fine. That was when I understood. He didn't hear patience in my voice. He heard surrender. To him, my silence meant permission. My restraint meant agreement. My kindness meant he could keep taking and call me generous for letting him. Lunch passed with everyone pretending to eat. Stephen didn't pretend. He acted completely at ease. He ordered Robin's favorite dessert, told the waiter to bring her extra cream, and discussed changing the first dance song because Robin said the original was a little boring. I stopped arguing. There was no point arguing with a man who believed the room belonged to him. After lunch, everyone walked toward the valet entrance. Robin touched Stephen's arm. My suitcases are still at the hotel. I'll get them. Then Stephen turned to me. Clear space in the guest room tonight. I stared at him. What? Robin is staying with us until her apartment is ready. I heard his mother inhale sharply. My grandfather's hand closed around the handle of his cane. I said no. Stephen looked at me. For the first time all afternoon, he seemed mildly surprised. What did you say? I said no. His expression changed. It wasn't confusion. It was irritation. You don't get to say no to this. I felt something cold move through me. Our apartment is my home too. And I'm telling you, she needs somewhere to stay. She can book a hotel. I don't want her in a hotel. I don't want her in our apartment. He stepped closer. You're doing this in front of everyone. You brought her in front of everyone. His mouth tightened. You're jealous. Yes, I said. He blinked. I smiled without humor. I'm jealous of the woman my fiancé keeps choosing over me. Did you expect me to be grateful? Robin slipped her arm through his. Stephen, maybe we should go. He looked at her immediately, his face softening. We will. Then he looked back at me, and the softness vanished. Go home and clear the room. No. His eyes narrowed. Nora. My grandfather stepped forward. She said no. Stephen looked at him like he was an inconvenience. With respect, this is between me and my fiancé. Grandfather's voice was calm. Then speak to her with respect. Stephen laughed once. She's throwing a tantrum because Robin needs help. I took one step back. There it was. That was all I was to him in that moment. A tantrum. A delay. A prop refusing to stand where he placed it. Stephen pulled his keys from his pocket and handed them to the valet. Then he looked at me one last time. I'm taking Robin shopping. When I get home, I expect the guest room ready. I didn't answer. He didn't wait for one. He opened the passenger door for Robin, helped her inside, and drove away without looking back. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then his mother whispered, Nora, I'm so sorry. I looked at the road, where Stephen's car had disappeared. My hands were steady. My voice was too. Don't be. My grandfather turned to me. What do you want to do? I looked down at the engagement ring on my finger. For the first time, it felt less like a promise and more like a warning. I want to go home. Grandfather nodded. To the apartment. I closed my hand around the ring. No. My home. I didn't go home with my grandfather. I went to the apartment. Not because Stephen had told me to. Because I wanted my things before he decided they belonged to someone else. His car was already in the parking garage. So was Robin's luggage. I took a slow breath before unlocking the front door. Voices drifted from the living room. The master bedroom gets the best light. Robin's voice. I stepped inside. She stood near the windows with a glass of wine in one hand. Stephen looked up from the sofa. There you are. He didn't ask where I'd been. He didn't ask if I was all right. He pointed toward the hallway. Did you clear the guest room? No. His expression darkened. I told you to. I said no. He sighed. I don't have time for this. He stood and walked toward the hallway. Come here. I stayed where I was. Stephen. I'm not a child. Then stop acting like one. He opened the guest room door. I already measured it. He pointed toward the wardrobe. If we move half your clothes into storage, Robin will have enough room. I looked inside. My suitcases were already sitting on the floor. Several empty moving boxes were stacked against the wall. He'd already planned it. You bought boxes. Of course. You were going to pack my things. I am going to pack your things. He corrected me without hesitation. I just assumed you'd have them ready. I looked at him. You assumed wrong. He shrugged. Then we'll do it now. He reached for one of my dresses. I caught his wrist. Don't. He pulled his hand away. Nora. I'm serious. So am I. He picked up another hanger. This one. I stepped between him and the closet. Don't touch my things. His patience finally disappeared. This is ridiculous. No. What's ridiculous is turning 1 week into a national emergency. Then book her a hotel. No. Why? Because I don't want to. He answered so quickly, it almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny. Because that was the first honest thing he'd said all day. He didn't want her in a hotel. That was the beginning and end of his reasoning. Everyone else simply had to adjust. Robin leaned against the doorframe. I don't mind sharing a closet. Stephen looked at her immediately. You shouldn't have to. She smiled. I've got a lot of clothes. I know. He smiled back. We'll make room. We. Not you. Not Nora. We. I suddenly understood something. This wasn't my home anymore. I just hadn't been informed. Stephen walked back into the living room and picked up his phone. I'll call the storage company. You aren't sending anything of mine into storage. He looked up. I wasn't asking. I noticed. He started dialing. I walked over and took the phone out of his hand. His face went cold. What are you doing? I'm ending this conversation. He held out his hand. Give me my phone. No. Nora. I said no. His voice became sharper. You don't get to tell me no. I stared at him. I've been telling you no all day. And I've been ignoring it. He held my gaze. I suggest you start cooperating. He wasn't bluffing. He expected me to give the phone back, because that was what I always did. Instead, I set it on the dining table. You can get it after I leave. He laughed once. Leave? I've already started packing. So, I'm moving out. Good. I blinked. He folded his arms. It'll make things easier. For a second, I thought I'd misheard him. You want me to leave? I want peace. He looked toward Robin. I'm tired of every day turning into an argument. Every day. As though I'd been the one inviting old flames into our apartment. As though I'd been the one changing wedding plans. As though I'd been the one demanding people move their belongings. I looked at Robin. She didn't look away. Instead, she smiled. Very slightly. Just enough for me to see it. She liked this. She liked winning. I walked into the bedroom and opened my closet. There weren't many boxes left to fill. Most of my important things had already been packed after yesterday. I reached for my jewelry box. It wasn't there. I checked the dresser. Nothing. I looked around the room. Stephen. What? Where's my jewelry box? I moved it. Where? I don't remember. I turned slowly. You don't remember. You've got a lot of stuff. I asked where my grandmother's jewelry is. He waved toward the apartment. It's here somewhere. My stomach tightened. Find it. I'll look later. No, I said firmly now. He looked annoyed. I've had enough. So have I. You can look for it yourself. You moved it. And I couldn't believe this conversation was real. You touched my grandmother's jewelry without asking. I was making space. For Robin. For us. He corrected me again. You keep acting like she's taking something from you. She is. She's taking the guest room. She's taking my home. No. He shook his head. You're giving it up because you refuse to compromise. The front door opened. Stephen's parents stepped inside. His mother looked from me to the boxes. Then to Robin. Then back to Stephen. What happened? Stephen answered before I could. Nora's moving out. His mother stared at him. Why? He sounded genuinely annoyed. Because she refuses to let Robin stay here. His father looked around the apartment. Then his eyes landed on the moving boxes. Why are Nora's things already packed? I told you. Robin needs the closet. His father was quiet for several seconds. Then he asked, so you packed your fiancé's belongings to make room for another woman? Yes. Stephen looked at him like the answer was obvious. I don't understand why everyone keeps making that sound strange. His father closed his eyes. His mother sat down slowly on the sofa. For the first time since all of this started, nobody tried to defend Stephen. Nobody tried to explain him. They simply looked at him as if they were seeing him for the first time. Stephen noticed. He looked irritated. What? His father spoke quietly. I think we've made a terrible mistake. Stephen frowned. What mistake? His father looked at me. Then back at his son. Encouraging this engagement. The apartment fell silent. Stephen's expression hardened. That's ridiculous. No. His father shook his head. The ridiculous part is that you still think you're the victim. I moved into my grandfather's house that night. The guest room had been untouched since my grandmother passed away. Her favorite quilt still covered the bed. A vase of dried lavender still sat on the windowsill. Grandfather carried my last box upstairs. Stay as long as you need. I won't be in the way. He looked at me over the top of the box. You've never been in the way. I smiled. I know. It was the first time I'd smiled all day. My phone started ringing before 7 the next morning. Stephen. I ignored it. He called again. Then again. Finally, a message appeared. Where are you? I didn't answer. Another message. I couldn't find one of my blue shirts. Did you pack it by accident? I stared at the screen. Not a single question about me. Nothing about the engagement. Nothing about us. He wanted his shirt. A third message arrived. Call me when you stop sulking. I locked my phone. By the time I reached the office, everyone seemed unusually busy. People hurried through the lobby, carrying folders and laptops. My assistant met me at the elevator. There you are. What happened? The chairman has been in meetings since 6. Why? Our biggest investor is visiting. I frowned. I thought they usually gave us a week's notice. They do. This was a last-minute decision. The elevator doors opened. She lowered her voice. Everyone's nervous. So am I. You should be, she laughed. They're saying he personally requested today's schedule. At 10 o'clock, the executive team gathered in the conference room. The chairman stood at the front with several department heads. We'll begin as soon as Mr. Sinclair arrives. Someone knocked. The assistant opened the door. 3 people walked in. The first 2 were assistants. The third man immediately drew everyone's attention. He was tall, dressed in a dark suit, and carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who never needed to raise his voice. The chairman smiled. Mr. Sinclair. He shook his hand. It's an honor. The man returned the greeting politely. Then his eyes moved across the room. They stopped on me. He walked past everyone else. Straight toward me. The room grew quiet. He stopped in front of my chair. Nora Bennett. I stood. Yes. He held out his hand. My name is Terrence Sinclair. I shook it. It's nice to meet you. It isn't our first meeting. I searched his face. I'm sorry. You were 18, and my grandmother invited your family to dinner. Then I remembered. A quiet university student who barely spoke during the meal because he'd flown in from overseas that morning. We'd met exactly twice after that. Neither conversation had lasted more than 10 minutes. I'm surprised you remember. I remember everything about those dinners. Before I could answer, the chairman cleared his throat. Mr. Sinclair, should we begin? Terrence looked away from me. In a moment. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and removed a small envelope. I was planning to do this privately. He smiled faintly. But I suppose this works. He handed me the envelope. Inside was a photograph. Two elderly women stood in the middle. My grandmother and his grandmother. Between them stood two teenagers. Me and Terrence. Written across the bottom in my grandmother's handwriting were the words, "Future grandchildren-in-law." I blinked. What? Our grandmothers became friends 40 years ago. I know. They spent the last 8 years trying to convince us to get married. The conference room was completely silent. I thought they were joking. They weren't. He sounded almost amused. My grandmother stopped joking about it after the second year. I looked back at the photograph. I haven't seen this photo in years. They made several copies. He paused. I kept mine. Before I could think of a response, my phone started vibrating. Stephen. Again. The screen lit up with his name. Terrence noticed. So that's him. I looked up. You know about Stephen? I know enough. He glanced at the phone before looking back at me. Yesterday's wedding meeting became the most discussed topic among 3 different families. I couldn't help smiling. I suppose it did. He waited. I also heard you moved out. I did. And the engagement. It's over. He nodded once. Good. I laughed softly. That was a very interesting response. I've been waiting several years. The words were so unexpected that I wasn't sure I'd heard them correctly. I'm sorry. He looked at me with complete sincerity. I promised my grandmother I wouldn't interfere while you were engaged. I kept my promise. I don't intend to keep waiting now. Several executives looked ready to fall out of their chairs. The chairman looked between us. Mr. Sinclair. Terrence finally turned back to him. I apologize, I've taken enough of everyone's time. He looked at me one more time. I'm staying in the city for a while, and I'd like to have dinner with you. I understand if your answer is no, but I had the chance to ask. Before I could respond, my phone rang again. This time, Stephen's name filled the screen for everyone nearby to see. Terrence glanced at it. You should probably answer. I don't want to. I know, but I think he's going to keep calling until someone does. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. The moment I answered, Stephen spoke. Finally, where are you? Work. No, you're not. I frowned. I stopped by your office, you weren't there. I've been in a meeting. Whatever. His tone dismissed that explanation immediately. When are you coming home? I'm not, he laughed, very funny. I'm serious. Nora. I've got enough going on today. Stop dragging this out. I'm not dragging anything out. You've made your point. I looked through the conference room window. Terrence happened to glance toward the hallway. Our eyes met for a brief moment. Then Stephen continued. I told Robin you'd calm down in a day. I've already given you one. You can come home tonight. I closed my eyes. Who was this man and where did he find the audacity? Was this even the same man I agreed to marry? Stephen. What? I'm not coming back. There was a short silence, then he sighed with obvious annoyance. You really are going to keep this going? He ended the call before I could answer. As far as Stephen was concerned, the discussion was over. He had decided I was coming home. He simply expected the rest of the world to catch up. The meeting ended just after noon. People gathered their notes and slowly left the conference room. Nora. I turned. Terrence walked over holding my notebook. You forgot this. I smiled. Thank you. He handed it to me. I hope I didn't surprise you too much this morning. You did. I wasn't expecting any of it. He nodded. That's fair. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he smiled. My invitation still stands. Dinner. Dinner. I thought about it for a second. I'd like that. Tomorrow evening. Tomorrow evening. I'll send you the details. I'll be there. He smiled. I'm looking forward to it. So am I. He excused himself to speak with the chairman while I headed toward the lobby. My phone buzzed again. Stephen. I declined the call. He called again before I reached the elevators. I declined that one too. When the elevator doors opened, Stephen was standing in the lobby. The moment he saw me, he walked over. There you are. I've been calling you. I know. You should have answered. I didn't want to. His expression tightened. We need to talk. I don't. You're still angry. I'm finished. He frowned. Stop saying that. I'm not saying it to upset you. I'm saying it because it's true. He folded his arms. Nora, this has gone on long enough. It's been one day. It should have been over yesterday. It was. He stared at me. What? Our engagement ended yesterday. You moved out. I accepted that. You've had a day to cool off. You can come home now. I looked at him for a long moment. Stephen. I am not coming home. I've ended our engagement. I'm not marrying you. I'm not changing my mind. His jaw tightened. You're making a huge mistake. I don't think so. You've let everyone get involved. My grandfather. My parents. That investor. They've convinced you this is bigger than it is. I shook my head. They didn't convince me of anything. You did. He looked annoyed. I let an old friend stay in our guest room. No. You spent 3 months putting another woman before the person you asked to marry you. That's your opinion. It's my life. And I've decided I don't want it anymore. He took a step closer. So that's it. Yes. 4 years. Yes. He laughed once. You'll regret this. I don't think I will. You always forgive me. I won't this time. He looked at me as though I'd said something unreasonable. You don't throw away a relationship over an argument. I didn't. I ended it because I finally accepted we wanted different things. He frowned. What does that mean? You wanted a fiancé who never said no. I wanted a partner. Neither of us spoke for a few seconds. Then I reached into my bag and removed a small envelope. Inside was the apartment key and the spare garage remote. I held them out. These are yours. He looked at them but didn't move. Take them. He finally did. I closed the empty envelope. My lawyer will contact yours about canceling the wedding contracts. If there's anything at the apartment that belongs to me, have it delivered to my grandfather's house. I'll send someone for the rest of my things this weekend. He looked up. A lawyer? Yes. You've already talked to one. Yes. You planned all this. I made arrangements after I moved out. His expression hardened. So you've really thought this through? I have. I met his eyes. After today, don't call me. Don't text me. Don't come to my office. If there's anything that still needs to be handled, our lawyers can deal with it. He stared at me. For the first time since Robin came home, he didn't interrupt. He simply looked at me. Then he said quietly, You've already decided. Yes. Before he could speak again, I walked around him. He caught my wrist. I stopped. Stephen. Let go. I'm not finished. I am. You owe me a conversation. I've given you one. I've given you dozens. You just never listened. His grip tightened slightly. I said let go. A calm voice spoke from behind us. Mr. Cole. Stephen turned. Terrence stood several feet away. He looked at Stephen's hand. Then back at Stephen. Miss Bennett asked you to let go. Stephen held my wrist for another second before releasing it. I stepped back. Are you all right? Terrence asked. Yes. I rubbed my wrist once. Thank you. He nodded. I'll wait outside. He walked toward the entrance. He didn't look back. I picked up my bag. Stephen spoke one last time. So you're leaving with him? I'm leaving. The rest isn't your concern. He shook his head. You'll come back. I smiled sadly. No, Stephen. I won't. I walked to the front doors. Outside, Terrence was waiting beside the curb. He looked up as I approached. Everything okay? Yes. I took a deep breath. It finally is. He smiled. Tomorrow at 7. I'll see you tomorrow. He opened the passenger door of his car. I thanked him and got in. As we pulled away, I looked out the window once. Stephen was still standing in the lobby. He didn't wave. He didn't follow. He simply watched the car disappear into traffic. For the first time in 4 years, where I went next wasn't something he could decide. The next evening, I stood in front of my closet longer than I wanted to admit. My grandfather looked up from his newspaper as I came downstairs. You've changed clothes 3 times. Twice. He smiled over the top of his glasses. The laundry basket disagrees. I laughed. I haven't been on a first date in a long time. You've also never spent 20 minutes deciding between 2 sweaters. I don't know why I'm nervous. You do. He folded the newspaper and stood. This one matters. He straightened the collar of my coat. Go enjoy yourself. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. I'm outside. I'll see you later. Grandfather smiled. I hope so, otherwise I'll assume my cooking scared him away. Terrence was waiting beside his car, with a bouquet of white lilies. When he saw me, he held them out. I wasn't sure what your favorite flowers were, he admitted. My grandmother insisted I shouldn't arrive empty-handed. They're beautiful. I'm glad. He opened the passenger door. I found a little Italian restaurant about 20 minutes away. I've never been there. Neither have I. Then we'll both be trying something new. I smiled. I like that. Dinner lasted almost 4 hours. Neither of us noticed until the waiter quietly asked whether we wanted coffee. I laughed and looked at the time. I didn't realize it was almost 10. I was hoping you hadn't. We ordered coffee. I rested my elbows on the table. I still can't believe our grandmothers spent years trying to arrange this. They were remarkably persistent. My grandmother never mentioned you. Mine mentioned you constantly. I laughed. Really? He nodded. She mailed me your college graduation photo. I stared at him. She did what? There was a note on the back. What did it say? He smiled. She's even prettier now, don't waste your chance. I covered my face with one hand. I don't know whether to be embarrassed or flattered. I chose flattered. I noticed. His phone buzzed on the table. He looked at the screen and smiled. Let me guess, I said. Your grandmother. My grandmother. You should answer. He accepted the call and placed it on speaker. Good evening, grandmother. I don't need the weather report, she replied. How is the date? Terrence glanced at me. It's going very well. Did Nora like the flowers? She did. Good. There was a brief pause. Is she still there? Terrence held the phone toward me. She'd like to say hello. I accepted the phone. Hello. My dear, his grandmother said warmly. Thank you for agreeing to have dinner with my grandson. I've had a wonderful evening. I knew you would. She lowered her voice. He worries far too much. I smiled. I'll pretend you didn't tell me that. Please do. She wished us a good evening before hanging up. I handed the phone back. I think your grandmother might be my favorite person. Terrence sighed dramatically. She'll be thrilled to hear that. When dinner was over, Terrence drove me home. Neither of us seemed in a hurry to end the evening. He walked me to my grandfather's front gate. I had a really nice time, he said. So did I. I'd like to see you again. I'd like that too. Are you free on Saturday? I am. Then I'd like to take you out again. I'd love that. He smiled. I'll make the reservation tomorrow. Before either of us could say anything else, headlights turned onto the street. A black sedan slowed to a stop near the curb. Stephen stepped out and shut the driver's door. He looked at me first. Terrence barely seemed to register. "Nora, what are you doing here?" I asked. "I came to take you home." I almost smiled. "I don't live with you anymore. You've been gone long enough. I'm not coming back." Stephen took another step toward me. "I'm done pretending this breakup is real." I looked at him. "I'm not pretending. You'll get over this." "No, Stephen, you need to get over it." His jaw tightened. "We've been together for 4 years. Yes. We're supposed to be getting married." "We were." He shook his head. "You don't throw away 4 years over one mistake." I didn't. I met his eyes. "I walked away after 3 months of watching you choose Robin over me." "You keep bringing her up," Stephen said. "I'm tired of talking about Robin. You should have thought about that before you made every decision around her." He looked away for a moment before looking back at me. "So this is really over?" "Yes." "You aren't coming back?" "No." "You aren't answering my calls?" "No." "You don't want to see me again?" "I don't." I kept my voice calm. "I asked you not to call me. I asked you not to come to my office. I'm asking you one last time. Leave me alone." The street fell quiet. Stephen stood there without speaking. Then he finally looked at Terrence. "So you're seeing someone else already?" Before I could answer, Terrence spoke. "No." Stephen turned toward him. "No." Terrence nodded. "This has nothing to do with me." He looked back at me before continuing. "Miss Bennett has been very clear." Stephen looked at me again. "So that's how you see it?" "Yes." He let out a short laugh. "I still think you're making a mistake." "Maybe," I said, "but it'll be my mistake to make." For the first time since I'd met him, Stephen didn't have an answer. He got back into his car and drove away. Neither Terrence nor I spoke until the taillights disappeared around the corner. "I'm sorry," I said. He looked at me. "For what?" "For interrupting our evening." "You didn't." He smiled. "I had a wonderful evening." "So did I." He slipped his hands into his coat pockets. "I'll see you Saturday." "You will." He smiled again. "I'm looking forward to it." "I am too." "Good night, Nora." "Good night, Terrence." I waited until he drove away before going inside. Grandfather was still awake. He looked up from his book as I walked into the living room. "How was your date?" I set the lilies on the table and smiled. "We talked for almost 4 hours." He closed his book. "I was hoping you'd say something like that." I carried the flowers into the kitchen and found a vase. As I filled it with water, I caught my reflection in the window. I was smiling. Not because I had forgotten the past. Because, for the first time in a long time, I was genuinely excited about tomorrow. 6 months later, I woke up to someone laughing downstairs. I looked at the clock. 7:30. On a Saturday. Nobody should have been that cheerful. I pulled on a sweater and walked downstairs. Terrence's grandmother was already sitting at the kitchen island with my grandfather. The two of them were drinking tea and arguing over crossword clues. "I told you it was orchid," Terrence's grandmother said. Grandfather didn't even look up. "It's definitely olive." I stopped in the doorway. "When did either of you get here?" Terrence looked up from the stove. "About an hour ago." "You let them in?" "They have keys." I blinked. "They have keys." "They insisted." His grandmother smiled. "We're very trustworthy." Grandfather nodded. "We've only reorganized one cabinet." I looked toward the kitchen. "In which cabinet?" Neither of them answered. Terrence set a plate in front of me. "I made breakfast." "You cooked." "I can. I've just never had to prove it." I smiled. "It smells amazing." His grandmother leaned toward me. "He practiced." "Grandmother." "What?" "He made pancakes every Sunday for a month." Terrence sighed. You promised not to tell her. I changed my mind. I laughed into my coffee. After breakfast, Terrence disappeared upstairs. When he came back down, he was carrying a folded blueprint. He spread it across the dining table. I wanted your opinion. I looked down. It wasn't an office building. Or a hotel. It was a house. Our house, I asked. If you like it. He pointed toward the garden. I asked the architect to make the library bigger. You said you wanted somewhere to read when it rains. My finger traced the drawing. You remembered that. You've mentioned it 3 times. I counted. I looked at him. I didn't know you were paying attention. I pay attention to everything you tell me. His grandmother stood up. We'll be outside. Grandfather nodded. We suddenly have a strong desire to inspect the roses. The front door closed behind them. Terrence smiled. I think they planned that. They definitely planned that. He reached into his jacket pocket. I've been carrying this around for 2 weeks. He held out a small velvet box. I wanted to ask properly. I looked from the box to him. You don't have to answer, because our grandmothers have been trying to arrange this since we were teenagers. You don't have to answer because everyone expects it. He took a slow breath. I only want one reason. You. He opened the box. Inside was a simple diamond ring. Nora, I love the life we're building. I love coming home to you. I love that every time something good happens, you're the first person I want to tell. He smiled. I'd like to keep doing that for the rest of my life. Will you marry me? I didn't let him finish, lowering himself to one knee. I wrapped my arms around him instead. Yes. He laughed. I was hoping you'd say that. I was trying too. He slipped the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. The front door burst open. I knew it. His grandmother hurried inside before either of us could move. Grandfather walked in behind her much more slowly. I told you to wait outside, Terrence said. I did. She sounded offended. I waited almost 40 seconds. Grandfather looked at me. So, I held up my left hand. I said yes. He smiled. I was hoping you would. Terrence looked around the room. So, how long have the 2 of you been standing outside? His grandmother looked at my grandfather. We should probably tell him. Grandfather nodded. We heard the whole proposal. Terrence closed his eyes. I had a feeling. His grandmother hugged me tightly. I've waited years for this. I smiled over her shoulder at Terrence. So have I. He walked over and took my hand. This time, there wasn't a backup plan. There wasn't another choice waiting in the wings. There was only the life we had chosen together. And that was more than enough. Thank you so much for listening to Dusklit Audio. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the story. Leave a heart or thumbs up in the comments if you want more.